As we mentioned earlier in the show, Nanaimo is known as nature's playground, and there's a real trend towards ecotourism. The idea behind ecotourism is to explore and discover natural areas without damaging their delicate ecosystems. Kayaking is a popular way to do that. With no set schedule and easy accessibility, it works perfectly with your laid-back weekend or vacation schedule.
What we have here is an ideal place, like for instance, if you're interested in kayaking, it's an ideal place to start learning. For a beginner, they can come out here in a kayak and they can practice on these sheltered waters on this side, get their basics down, and then in 2 or 3 hours they can take them around the outside of the island, get a bit of exposure, a bit of feel of waves, get to see the cliffs on the other side of the island, and come around the island and come back home here. And once you got that down, you got a little bit more practice happening, you've got so many areas up and down the coast here, right around Nanaimo, a bit north, a bit south, the Gulf Islands. You got a couple of parks up north there where you can put your boat in with your friends and you can paddle. Around this island, there's often seals will pop up, and they're very curious around here, so they'll pop up and they'll follow you. There's often kingfishers will follow you around, and eagles will sit up on top of the rocks, and so it's very enjoyable like that. For someone who likes being in the water, likes being up close to nature, and a bit of peace and quiet, and relaxation, a bit of R&R time, it's a wonderful opportunity.
The initial outlay for a boat and gear is pricey, about $3,000, but the equipment should last you for 10 to 20 years. Renting from a local outfitter will cost less initially, and will give you a chance to see if you enjoy the sport enough to invest in your own equipment. And you can learn paddling techniques from a pro. Group tours in Nanaimo run from March through October, though with some experience under your belt, you'll be ready and willing to enjoy the sport all year round. The internet is an easy way to source out the ecotourism opportunities in Nanaimo and all over British Columbia. Jamies.com will hook you up with Jamie's Whaling Station, a tour operator in Clackowit Sound on the eastern coast of Vancouver Island. With everything from whale-watching charters to hiking tours, you'll find maps, rates, and schedules right here, so your travel planning is easy. At oceanexplorersdiving.com, you'll find information on scuba diving around Nanaimo. The links here will take you through certification courses, charter outings, and some of the local underwater attractions. There have been a number of retired naval ships sunk in the area. Divers can explore these, and of course, the sea life is always fascinating too.
Last summer, we had a group of divers out from the prairies, and they were diving at a local site called Orlebar Point. During the dive, face-to-face with a gray whale feeding on the bottom. The whale was no more than 10 or 15 feet away and hung around for the entire length of the dive. When they came up, their eyes were like saucers. It is an experience that they'll never forget.
From high adventure to a quiet escape, Nanaimo can satisfy the urge to explore while putting the fragility of nature in perspective. And when you choose a vacation property for its natural setting, you'll doubly appreciate the philosophy and benefits of eco-tours.
Camping in Nanaimo is plentiful and varied. Here are a few parks to consider when you're planning your next trip to the Nanaimo area. Living Forest RV Park, Westwood Lake RV Cabins and Camping, Newcastle Island Provincial Park, Rondelin Resort, Brennan Lake Campsite, and Mountain Air Campsite. For a complete list of campgrounds, go to tourismnanaimo.com or distantroads.com.
Most but not all RV campgrounds will let you camp with pets. But don't be surprised if there's an extra charge for bringing your pet along. You may even be assigned to a specific part of the campground.
The campground will ask you to clean up after your pets, keep it on a leash, and make sure it doesn't bother the other campers. But RVers, as a general rule, are so courteous that this shouldn't be a problem.
Around here, we really take a lot of the wildlife for granted. Even standing here in town, there's lots of seabirds that are moving by, cormorants, grebes, goaters, that type of thing. Over here on Gabriela Island, we have a really large nesting colony of seabirds. In the forests above us here in the spring, there's thousands of warblers that move through. So there's a combination of forest birds and seabirds here that at certain times of the year can be really spectacular. At one time, I'd say birding consisted of very few people that were very good at it. We have lots of birders who are just getting into it. So I would say that there's a lot of people that are just getting interested in it, and the bulk of birders, I would say, are at that level. So it really is exploding as a hobby that people do.
The eagle has a very strong presence on Vancouver Island. It's pictured in much of the native art that adorns the city. And the beauty of British Columbia is that the real thing is never far away.
One of the things that always amazes people who come to Vancouver Island for the first time are the amount of bald eagles they see around here. The bald eagle is a really common and always present bird in this area. We have a large breeding population locally. A lot of nests are located right alongside of houses or cottages, and as long as we're not disturbing the nest trees or disturbing the nesting birds too much, they seem to do fine around people. Areas like the Nanaimo River estuary, it's not uncommon to see several hundred eagles in one area. So that's something that really impresses people when they come here. In local waters around here, you'll find things like large rafts of surf scoters. On some of the offshore rocks, you'll get cormorants. Near shore, there'll be harlequin ducks, which are just an amazingly beautiful little duck. Now, hunting these things are bald eagles and peregrine falcons. Locally, in the wintertime, it's fairly easy to find peregrine falcons around here, and you'll see them buzzing some of the seabird colonies or strafing the beaches looking for a shorebird or a duck.
It's the cycle of nature unfolding before you. And as the shadows fall over the trees and the cold waters of Georgia Strait run past, your family and friends can gather and celebrate life in a place that lets you enjoy its very essence.